Hello, viewers. This is Rishabh Bhatnagar, and you're watching BQ Prime. Today, we have with us Carrie Wang. She is the regional business lead for Asia for Duolingo. Viewers, for those of you who do not know what Duolingo is, it is one of the world's largest language learning apps. It is listed on the NASDAQ in the US. And today we have Carrie with us to just take us through how Duolingo has grown in India, what their future plans would be. Carrie, welcome to BQ Prime.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Great to meet you all.
Carrie, just to start off, for our viewers, if you could just give sort of a summary of how long has it been for Duolingo in India? How has growth been year on year? How have users responded?
Yep, of course. So as you mentioned earlier, Duolingo, one of our most popular products is our language learning app, which is named Duolingo. The language learning app, has been available since 2012, and we made it available on the Apple App Store as well as the Google Play Store. And so in theory, really the minute that Duolingo had been made available, it was available to users all over the world, including in India. So we've been in India for 10 years plus. But of course, over the past 3-4 years, we've enjoyed a particularly strong growth spurt, both during COVID and after COVID. And at this point, India is our 5th largest market by daily active user. And if you look at 2022, India is the fastest growing among our top 10 markets, again, ranked by daily active user. So we've been here for a long time, but we've seen a particularly strong growth over the past couple of years, and particularly strong growth last year as well. I'm very excited about how much more Duolingo can grow in India.
Right. Carrie, could you give us sort of a ballpark figure about the DAUs, the MAUs that you're seeing, the daily active users, the monthly active users that you've been seeing in India?
We do not share country-specific user figures at this moment, but we are a public company, like you said. And so we do publish monthly active users and daily active users globally. And so let us get back to you on the specifics, but ballpark globally, we have more than 60 million monthly active users, and India being our largest market, you can roughly do the math. We have millions of users actively using Duolingo every month, every single day. And the other thing I'll share is, although kind of Duolingo, the language learning app, is our most popular product and our most mature product, another business that is incredibly fast growing for Duolingo in India is the Duolingo English test. The Duolingo English test is a high stakes English exam that allows students to then take that score and use it for university application. And for those of you who are in India, that study abroad has become particularly popular over the past couple of years. And we see India really growing rapidly to overtake China as the #1 source market for students looking to study abroad in countries like the US, Canada, UK, Australia. And the Duolingo English test is a completely different product than traditional tests. It is significantly more affordable. It's a test you can take at home, but it's a test that is recognized by some of the best universities all around the world. And we're very excited in India to not only be able to help more adults and students learn languages, including English, but also very excited to have a product that can make it easier for the millions of study abroad aspirants currently in India, at lower barriers for them as they seek higher ed internationally.
Right. Carrie, could you sort of tell us what the revenue split is between these two products for India in terms of percentage? Sure. Not exact figures if you're not willing to share, but in terms of percentage, what product is more significant?
Yeah. So globally, I'll start with global overall. 90% of Duolingo's revenue globally is from the language learning app. We have a freemium business model, and just a little bit of context. Duolingo is available for free, and we're committed to keeping the product accessible to billions of language learners around the world. So we have a free tier. At the same time, we also have a subscription tier where users would be able to gain more learning features, gamification features, to allow them to get even more out of the app. And so the subscription is about 90% of our revenue globally, and the Duolingo English test is about 10% of our revenue globally. However, in India, the Duolingo English test actually represents the vast majority of our revenue. This is due to two reasons. One, India is one of the biggest markets for the Duolingo English test because so many students are looking to study abroad. And really, I think students in India love the Duolingo English test. The other reason is that for our language learning app, right now, we haven't been aggressively pushing for users to take up the subscription. Our focus in India for the language learning app is really growing overall awareness of the brand, growing users, improving engagement, improving the content in the courses we teach to users in India. There are less than 10% of the population in India speaks English. And so we see that there are tons of demand out there. Even though we have millions of users, there's a lot of white space, and our priority in India for the language learning app by far is to grow our user base. And we believe that over time, a percent of these users will choose a subscription model because that suits their needs better. But so far, we're focused on user growth for the language learning app, whereas the English test is accounting for the majority of revenue today.
Carrie, like you said, in India, it's sort of reversed for you. It's globally, it's a different picture. For India, it's a different picture, primarily because for American tech companies, India has been a tough market to crack. It's a lot tougher to get Indian customers to pay a subscription fee, or sort of freemium models are a little difficult in India to crack. How does Duolingo plan to conquer that? And is it Duolingo's aim to actually get India into that 90-10 split that you have globally?
I would say in the near term, that's not our goal. We are an incredibly mission-driven company. Our mission is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally accessible. So a big part of success for Duolingo is growing the user base for the language learning app. And again, in India, we have a ton of headroom just in terms of user growth. The other thing, like you mentioned, the way we see it, and we have presence all around the world, and we see that some markets are more ready for a consumer subscription model and some markets are less ready. And I think for us, we have the benefit of the global platform. We also have the benefit of having multiple products that we can monetize in markets like India. And so, for us, it's about taking the long view, meeting the need that's in the market, and monetizing the way that is in a way that's most appropriate for markets where they are. And like you said, consumer subscription is in its early stages in India, really not just India, but also in many markets across the Indian subcontinent. To some extent, this is also true in Southeast Asia. And so, as a company, our priority is to grow our overall user base. We're happy for different markets to be in different phases when it comes to freemium adoption. We will also do things like optimize our pricing for India. Many US companies have done so. We think that's the right thing to do. And for India, again, because we fortunately also have the Duolingo English test, we have multiple ways of monetizing. And so we're not really in a rush to get to that 90-10 ratio.
Very, very interesting points there, Carrie. Another question that comes to my mind is, you spoke about English very heavily in India, right? There's a very large user base in India that wants to learn English. What about other languages? Because Duolingo globally is a teacher of all global languages. What's the play there?
Yep, you're exactly right. I think what's really unique about Duolingo is we teach more than 40 languages in close to 100 directions globally. And so being multilingual is a big part of what makes Duolingo unique and meeting language needs across the spectrum. In India, English is, of course, a very, very popular language. It's learned by users across age, socioeconomic, geographic spectrums. The Duolingo English test also meets English learners' needs at a later point in their journey. So English is important. But in addition to that, Hindi is actually the second most popular language we're seeing learned in India, followed by French, Korean, and Spanish. So it's certainly diversified. And, in the case of Hindi, we found it really interesting. And our hypothesis is that there is so much language diversity and cultural diversity within India. There's a lot of speakers of vernacular languages needing to learn Hindi through Duolingo as well. So we're very excited to not just be an English platform, but a broader language learning platform that can meet the needs of learners in the most engaging way possible.
Right. Lastly, Carrie, before I let you go, there's a lot of very regional YouTubers in India that put out content teaching languages directly from major regional languages in India, such as Tamil, Malayalam, Bengali. They directly would teach how to learn English in those languages. How does Duolingo plan to tackle that, or be better at these YouTubers can act as deterrent to growth?
Yeah, totally. Look, I think that YouTube is a great platform, and all of us consume a ton of content on YouTube. And I wouldn't phrase it such, to the extent that Duolingo is competing with English or language teachers on YouTube. I think the reality is overall, there is a shift from learning offline to online. The more we are spending time with our phones, the more through apps we're able to gain educational experiences. Overall, I think it's great that users have more options to learn in an affordable and convenient way. For Duolingo, as we think about kind of what is our secret sauce, one of the things that Luis, our founder, talks a lot about is that the hardest thing about learning is staying motivated. Well before Duolingo as a product existed, there are so many ways to learn anything, learn languages. All of us can go to a library, we can pick up dictionaries, we can pick up English learning books. But often for humans like us, it's really hard to stay motivated outside, particularly outside the formal education context where you had a teacher. And I think where Duolingo is really special is we found a way to combine efficacy and engagement. So we're able to teach and we're able to incorporate learning science with the help of AI to develop an effective personalized learning experience. But we also kind of wrap that experience around a pleasant, delightful, and engaging user experience. And so for a lot of learners, while they're learning really hard things like a brand new language on Duolingo, they feel like it's a game. They're willing to spend 5, 10, 20 minutes every day on their phone with Duolingo consistently. And from our experience, it's that consistency, that habit-forming power that Duolingo has that really differentiates us with other products, other forms of learning. And that's what we're excited about, the ability to help people learn something while keeping them motivated for the long term.
Right. One last question, sorry. For the next 3 to 5 years, what's Duolingo's goal in India? Is it a certain number of users? Is it a certain dollar revenue figure that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think 2 things. For our language learning app, we are already, I should say, one of the most popular language learning or educational apps in India. Our ambition is definitely to cement our leadership as the most popular language learning product for Indians seeking to learn any language. And we really, aspire to become much more of a household brand, the way Netflix or Spotify is becoming. Because we think that everyone can spend a couple of minutes to learn a language, whether for brain training, recreational purposes, or for more serious educational purposes. That's on like the brand and the language learning app side. In terms of the Duolingo English test, we're incredibly excited about the amount of Indians who are going to be able to afford a high quality education, both at home and abroad. And we want to be that English test that enables them to enter this next phase of life. Traditional testing has proven to be both expensive and really inaccessible for a lot of students. They have to make an appointment weeks in advance, sometimes travel to a different city and spend $200-300 just on one chance to take a test. And we really want to disrupt that market. And so our ambition for the next 3 to 5 years is to become the leader in language assessment. When a student needs to get an English score in order to get to a English medium instruction university, whether that be in India or abroad, we want the Duolingo English test to be that choice for them. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to grow into that product.
Right. Thank you so much, Carrie. Those were some very, very interesting points. Viewers, that was Carrie Wang of Duolingo. Thanks for watching.